I get, I guess an hour,
An
if that
hour?
works.
Fantastic. That works great.
I don't want to take up your whole rehearsal day
Oh,
either.
we're not rehearsing till start of next school year, and so this is
Oh,
just
got it. Wow,
everyone.
you're doing work way ahead of time. Holy hell.
That's Aiden.
That is me. That
Great,
is-
great.
um, yeah, and then once we get back, we're gonna have 2 weeks of rehearsal, 1 week of tech, and then we're doing it.
Okay, so yeah, the only 2 weeks of rehearsal, that's short.
Yeah,
So
very short. And then just going forward, you kind of answered the background in improv and comedy, but you just want to
sure.
elaborate a bit more
Elaborate
on
on, yeah, go ahead. Sorry,
how
on
you
that
approach your
question.
character work.
I'll touch on that question. I'll go into the second. So, like, I guess for improv and comedy, my background, how did it influence my approach? I think it's helped me be looser with characters and looser with lines, which really helps. Because lines are important, but your feelings about them and your character, your feeling about the character and your belief in the world of the play that's or the show that's more important. Um, I think improv helped me take more risks. And I hate to use that word risks because I have my own history with that and taking really risks that I probably should not have taken as far as like embarrassing myself in front of teachers. But it's I would say uh God, I don't know. I feel like it's just always play. That it's like improv and comedy teaches you to play in different ways. And ultimately like acting should be playful and fun, even if it's scary and dramatic. Um, that was for guided like musicals for Paul. Something that I was really stressed out about was doing the Let It Out song. I was like, oh, how do I do this? And then that just added more stress to me as an actor. And Nick took me aside. He was like, hey man, just have fun. And I tried to take that to heart. And then the more I just played and had fun with it, the less I had to worry about doing it exactly right, which is a trap. And so it's really like just improv and comedy helped me play in different ways and play harder. But it's fear is the enemy, even when you are playing somebody who's afraid. And so that was really important for me. Also, when you're playing Paul, it's super important to protect your voice because if you're screaming the whole show and then you have to sing two hard songs, it's very difficult to do that. So be sure to protect your voice and make sure it's supported. Um, anyway, that's about it.
Yeah,
That's on that
great.
question. And my approach
Uh,
to acting now is really just try to get off book as soon as I can.
Thank you.
Uh, the faster you get off the book, the more play you can have.
Mhm.
Especially in a show like Guided Light Musicals, really listen hard to the people you're on stage with. And let if you feel like there's like a quiet moment or you didn't know what you're doing, just focus on the people that you're on stage with and try to listen to them and what they're doing. And I've done a lot of like techniques like Meisner and Linklater and things like that. But there's a really great technique I like called the Warner Laughlin technique, which just involves a ton of homework and like building a timeline of a character and the moment before, the day before. Um, and I like it just because it's a ton of it gives you a ton of questions to ask.
Mhm.
So I really like that one.
Awesome. Before we jump to the next question, is there any questions from anyone else?
Yeah, I've got one. So I'm kind of an actor who's like used to be interested in like film, and I still am, right? And like going to LA and whatnot. But more and more, I'm kind of wanting to start off in like I don't know New York or Chicago, and I'm just wondering. We talk about it with one of our professors, but what is the networking game kind of like in LA versus somewhere like Chicago? I know you were talking about kind of meeting the people you want to work with organically, but like in a market that's so saturated like LA, I hear that there's like casting workshops that you pay for, that you like go and you meet up with these people. Like what is it like kind of getting yourself out there in LA versus, the other like smaller theatrical markets?
What a great question. Have you been to each of these cities?
I've been to Chicago. I've not worked in Chicago, but
It's important to visit all of them first. and talk to, if you can help it, what a luxury, talk to actors who are currently working there, even if they're only working part-time as an actor there, and get their thoughts on it, because the industry changes so quickly.
Oh,
I
yeah.
can tell you what's going on in LA. It changes exponentially quickly. It's absolutely different now today than it was last year, than it was 4 years ago, than it was 6 years ago when I was in Chicago. In Chicago, when I was growing up in Chicago as like a comedian improviser, it was very different. There was it was before YouTube had really taken off. It was before like TikTok. So it was very, very different, but it was very cool and exciting. And there were a lot of improv teams who were doing really exciting stuff. I think a lot of those improv teams are gone now. I think there's still the Annoyance Theater, which is my favorite, but um, I think it's less jazzy and experimental than it was when I went. So I don't know if it's still like that anymore. Uh, the networking game, as you put it, I know it's hard to not worry about that, but don't think about that. Think about what is the work you want to do, and be really specific. If it's film that you want to do, it'll probably be New York or LA. Yes, LA is a saturated market, but everything is so global now that if you can find a way to support yourself, number one here, then you can move here. There's a big clown community here now than there was like 5 years ago. The Hollywood industry is almost non-existent right now. It's like 6% out of 100% from what I've heard back in 2019. So like 6% of the amount of productions that we're shooting and filming in LA in 2019 are shooting out, which is, it's crazy. That's also 99% of stuff is non-union, and non-union rates are going way down. So like jobs that are used to be like $1,000 if non-union are now like $300. So that's something to think about when you want to like, so the advantage that you all have of being young is really just play and focus on the things that you want to do and the kind of art you want to do, and don't worry about networking, because it in 5 years it's all going to be different. So it doesn't matter really. So yeah, I mean, like when I was in college, I was like, okay, grad school is the way to go. I'm going to meet everybody I'm going to meet at grad school. I'm going to go to Tisch, ACT, or whatever, and I'm going to work forever and never have to worry about a job. That didn't happen. And also a lot of those people I know who went to grad school don't work anymore. So it's like, it's just focus on doing the kind of work you want to do and getting the training you want to get, and make a theater company or do solo work. Find out how to make your own stuff. There's a lot of power in that, but networking should come naturally. Ultimately, your friends are going to be the ones who hire you. Not like there was a director I really wanted to work with in Chicago for a long time. Her name is Kimberly Senior. She's a fantastic director. And I worked with her in 2 classes in Chicago because I'm like, okay, I'm going to take these classes. I'm going to work with this director. She's going to love me. She's going to love my acting. And then I took my second class with her, which was like a director's workshop where you worked with like 10 directors. And I'm sorry, I'm being long-winded. But she was like, we all sat down with her and after our scene work, and she was like, so someone asked, so how do we work with you? And she was like, I got to be honest with you guys. I'm only going to hire my friends because I've been working for 30 years and I have a bunch of friends who are actors and I want to hire them because they're actors and they're trying to get work. So it's like networking should come naturally from doing the work that you love to do around people who love to do it, and being reliable and being hardworking and being a good person and like a person people want to be around, and then continuing to improve on yourself. And then it'll just happen, unless your dad is Hugh Jackman. And then, That's another way to get a job. But yeah, sorry, that was a long-winded answer.
Oh,
Joe.
yeah, thank you.
Appreciate that.
That's great.
That was great. Thank you. Um, Stepping back, how did you first? I guess you kind of answered this. How did you first hear about Guidant like musicals, and was there much of a casting process?
It was one audition tape after Nick asked me if I was interested in the role. After he saw, I did this monologue, it was this TED Talk monologue, which is my own sort of dark parody of a TED Talk. And then
Posted on YouTube.
yeah.
Yup.
And then he saw that and then was like, oh, I really like this energy, I guess. And he asked me to come out and audition for the part. And then they had partially moved to LA, but not everybody had moved to LA. And so I came out and I joined them out there, and the rest is kind of history. And I'm very lucky. Because again, luck is a big thing. Like I had no idea what the show was going to be like. This is actually this comes. I think this question comes later, so I'll wait.
Yeah. Well, you can answer it now.
All right, fine. So you had a question about. Did you expect the Guidant music to become as popular as it did? No, I had no idea. I was very grateful after the show. I was just very I remember asking Joey and Lauren, I was like, okay, what do I do in talking to your fans, not my fan, your fans? Like, I want to make sure I talk to everybody. And he was like, don't worry about it, man. And I was, because that's his attitude with a lot of things. And so there was sort of a two-step revelation for me, which was one, meeting the audience for the first time and how their reaction to the show. And then when it came out on YouTube and seeing like everybody's public reaction to the show. And I actually legitimately like this show. I think the pacing of the show is really, really good. I think the way it just sort of clips along is really, really good. It's funny. And it gives you a lot of room to play with different, like, you don't have to play the characters exactly how we did it. You can make a lot of different choices, which is, I think, the sign of a good show. And you can update the script if you want. So yeah, I think there's really sort of two wow moments for me when I saw the audience for the first time after the show, and then when it came out online.
Oh, that's awesome. Great. Any other questions before I keep using mine?
Go for it.
Great. Awesome. What was your first reaction to reading the script?
I thought it was hilarious. I had been talking to Jeff a little bit about the songs before he had finished the music. And I was like, what a great idea. But I was like, these guys just cast the people they go to school with. I'm not gonna. So I was like, this is gonna be a really good show. What a fun thing. And I'm gonna keep living in Chicago. But yeah, I thought it was hilarious. So I had read the script a little bit and heard the music a little bit before they had reached out to me. And yeah, I loved it. Thought it was funny as hell. Yes. I was like, I've always been kind of a fan of Jekyll and Hyde, and as an actor, it's such an actory thing to want to switch between two characters. Yes. Like a four. So look, I can do two characters. But I also loved that part, and I was like, oh man, this is gonna be such a fun thing to do.
Yeah, for sure. This is a more character question, and so maybe it's better for Tristan to ask this, but I will still. How did you approach playing Paul, especially as a grounded character in the over-the-top world?
Yeah, so I realized it was like my Paul really sells the fear of the show, so it has to be real for Paul. So I was like, I'm gonna watch a lot of like scare actors. I'm going to watch a lot of movies of actors who are terrified. A big inspiration for me was Justin Long, who, if you ever see him in like Tusk, is fucking great. I saw the whole movie, but don't watch the whole movie because it's disgusting. But the first 20 minutes of like Justin Long realizing, like coming to a realization of the horror of what's going on was a big inspiration for me. And I also watched a lot. I watched The Thing, which a lot of inspiration is pulled from The Thing, and Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I watched that. So I tried to steal and draw on those performances as much as I could. Because those actors are really good at being horrified and scared while also having a good time. So it's just really, really important to be relaxed and loose and take everything very seriously, not play anything for laughs. And then, but also not to like, so I think playing up sort of the root of his discomfort in the first couple of scenes, like what, and I think when you first hear the idea, it's like, oh, this is a really silly. This guy doesn't like musicals, but you have to play it kind of the horror of it a little bit real, where everybody's getting replaced by singing, dancing doppelgangers.
Yeah. That reminded me of something that I've been pondering recently, but in Let It Out, he says, "I've never been happy." And do you think that is like truth within himself, or is that maybe the hive mind speaking through him at that
I don't
point?
think I should answer that.
Okay, that's for.
I think that's Tristan's job to answer that.
Yeah.
And I think it's the search is just as important as the answer.
Fair enough. That's very
That's
fair.
so true.
Sorry.
You kind of touched on like the singing aspect, screaming the whole way through and then singing at the end, but were there other moments in rehearsals or performances that were particularly challenging or rewarding?
Rewarding. It was really fun to be surrounded by some of the most talented people I've ever met. Like in La Di Da Da Day, I was like, oh my god, everybody's so fucking good, and I have to pretend to not like this. And that was really. I mean, everybody was welcoming on day one and really professional on day one. It's kind of a waking dream to be surrounded by people who care about something so much and to put so much of their heart and love into something. So that was extremely rewarding. Challenging. It was just the high notes were really challenging for me. But you have to not force them, and so you have to like understand. I think when you have to float something versus when you think you can hit something in your mix. But excuse me, if you're watching this recorded, I'm sick. But just really, really having an understanding of like what your body and your voice can handle that night, and not push yourself too much, and to relax and to lower the stakes, especially if you're putting a lot of mental effort on this one show or this one song. Lowering the stakes. That's advice Mariah gave me once when I was doing this show, Mamma Mia, but different, out in LA, where I was singing a really high note. She was like, John, lower the stakes. And that actually really helped a lot.
Awesome. That's great advice. Kind of piggyback off that. Do you have a favorite scene or song from the show?
I really like the early scenes of the show with like how we all interact in the office. I remember the Borat thing was it was improvised. It wasn't in the original script.
Really?
Yeah, it was like the line "my wife" was in the script, and I remember we had improvised him saying it like "my wife," and then I don't really like give him a laugh or anything, so I just like linger there for a long time. And I remember I would linger there until he said, "It's Borat, dude," and then that's when I would leave. I was waiting for that was the game that we played with each other. Like, until he says Borat, I won't leave, and then I'll run away. But yeah, those early scenes in the office were really playful and fun.
That's awesome. That reminds me of a later question that I kind of want to jump to now. I remember you're talking about like the okays being something that you've added in. Were there other ad libs, like walking through the shrubs to get to know Lauren Lopez, that you added in that either made its way into the performance or that you just loved?
Yeah, the okays were added in because they needed time to quick change. And and then the audience stuff was ad-libbed because they needed time to quick change again. And that's the ensemble doesn't get enough credit for the amount of quick changes that everyone else has to do. Like it's constant. What else is ad-libbed? There definitely was more ad-lib stuff. I just can't remember what it was. I think there was like originally Emma's boss, like in the Let It Out, in the beginning of Let It Out, it wasn't Emma's boss, like that I said, because I say,
Nora.
yeah, well, yeah, it was no, I say, because I recognize the different zombies, and I say like,
Oh, yeah.
Ted, and then I say, Emma's boss, and I realized it was like he wouldn't know the name of. I think the name of that lady he saw once yell at Emma. There were a couple other ad libs. I cannot remember what they are, but there was definitely a couple others.
That's awesome. Moving ahead. How or did the role or show evolve from rehearsals to final performance?
Well, we hadn't run the show completely until we didn't do a final tech before the first show. We did the show without having done a full run, which I don't know if people know that part, but yeah, and I remember they had just choreographed Tied Up My Heart like the night before. And then the set wasn't built. We run out of time. And so they had to spend the rest of the time finishing the set. And we had done a final run. So the first show was our first run through with tech.
Wow.
Which was fun.
Actor on the threshold. Love it. That's awesome. How has playing Paul influenced your career or other ways you approach roles?
I think I think I try to approach all of the roles that I get cast in this industry kind of the same way, which is like just getting off book as soon as I can and then searching for the personal connection and the truth and the character and what that person wants. And I would say if I ever got anything where I had to be terrified, I wouldn't put so much stress on it. That I learned that from Paul, which again, stress is a killer and it's the opposite of like play. So that's probably something I learned, which is just not to stress out so much.
Any questions before I jump to mine?
I mean, I guess I
Go
have
for
more.
it.
I know I'm a little talkative, but I guess this is more of like a general question. But when you were in school, and you're like, this is part of your training, and like you're trying to be the best actor that you can be, and you hit like a plateau, or you feel like you've hit like a limit or somewhere, or like this is like a bump that you can't get over. Like, how did you get over or overcome that sort of like, I'm stuck.
What's the limit? What's the bump? Give me an example.
Well, I don't know. We're doing like Chekhov and Ibsen scenes right now, and I know. And like oh my gosh, I love realism. Like my main goal is like I want to be in Tennessee Williams. I saw August Osage County at the Rep like a year ago. I don't know if you've seen that show, but it changed my life. Like I want to do that. And Chekhov feels like just so like raw realism, and I'm having trouble like grasping onto it. And like just in scenarios like that, how do you move yourself along in any like in a direction when it feels like you've stopped going in any direction?
I recently saw this the David Bowie documentary, Moon Age Daydream. Did you guys ever seen that?
No.
It's okay. It's like it's but there's some cool moments. And there's one moment where David Bowie is talking about like the search, where he's like he thinks when you get to the destination, it's over. And then so it's sort of like the search is the thing.
Yeah.
And so that's why I'm stealing from him saying that. But if you steal from anybody, why not steal from David Bowie? But I think I think it's like, when you're saying a line, does it feel motivated? And
Yeah.
like, does it feel like it's coming from you? Like you're playing pretend, you're playing a character. It's like I think for you and for anyone interested in being a like multifaceted actor, whatever the hell that means, I think it's like um just taking different classes, studying different techniques, but ultimately like Daniel Day-Lewis talks about this in an interview once where he's like talking about the acting process is feels very false for him because he's like ultimately all that matters is, are you believable, and does the audience believe you that you are playing this thing, and do you believe yourself, because it's such an insane thing to do, to be able to walk around, these are my words, what are my thoughts as the character, I can't have my own thoughts, like, which is why like if you ever feel like you're getting in your own head on stage with Guy, I am always like, focus on the people that you're on stage with, and
Yeah.
and lock in on them and be like, okay, what's Elijah thinking right now, or like what are people thinking in this moment, or what are they feeling. That's why I kind of like Meisner, but I think Meisner is also really stupid.
I just bought
It's like, I'm putting on pants, you're putting on pants, like the repeating, I like it, but I also hate it. But so I think just like it's it's just, the more you do, the more you learn, the more you play. I think again, like being curious about, like you mentioned, realism. Um, but realism is also kind of a trap, because like there's plenty of people are who are bombastic and large, but their emotions are real. Like Willem Dafoe is like huge,
Oh,
but
sure.
I would say he's real. I never don't believe him really. Maybe like a one. I don't know. There's probably an exception out there, but his feelings are huge. Um, so I think it's just like I like I like the Warner Laughlin technique, because they talk about going from everything is based in like either a want or a need, and then finding where that want or need existed in that character's past. But again, that's something that a lot of techniques use, like Meisner, they call it the kernel of truth. And I just don't like sense memory. I think that's destructive, and you can only force yourself to cry by thinking about your dead grandma like
Yeah, yeah.
about 10 or 15 times, and then it's like, fucking grow up. It's like, so that's, but everything else I think it's just a search, it's a curiosity and a search. And so it's everyone's journey for it is different. I think ultimately, when you are growing and playing, the worst thing you could do is beat yourself up. So I think it's a constant like need to relax, find one of the many relaxation techniques that exists, and find one that works for you. Um, Try to like live relatively healthy, don't get sick like I am right now. And be playful and be good to work with, and learn your lines fast, and treat everybody with respect, and be on time. And if you want to work in Chicago, you gotta like live in Chicago. Like if you want to work at the Goodman or Steppenwolf,
Yeah.
you should probably go through their training program, which sucks. It means like, okay, I've got to pay another $10,000 It's like, well, kind of, unless you went to college there, which isn't always the case. You can also spend, but there's no guarantees in anything in this business. Ultimately, it's just like focus on being the best performer you can and also living a healthy lifestyle. That also means being able to support yourself by like having a job that you don't hate, and being able to like live within your means and not go into massive amounts of debt. And which is also something they didn't teach me when I was in school. I wish they had taught me that. Like how do I wish that honestly every acting school should have one class where it's like, okay, here's how you make a really good dinner on a budget. And then have like a cooking class. But anyway, so I don't know if that answered your question, but about realism, it's like it's just a constant search for like uh finding what works for you and what makes something personal and meaningful.
Thank you. I guess just one quick thing.
Yeah, please. My time is all yours.
One or two like really good book recommendations, just like books that you like to read. Yes, yeah, you do.
Ooh,
There it is.
yeah.
He's stupid. All right.
I like this book.
Oh,
Ah!
that's required.
I like for improvisers. I like this book. It's by Mick
Oh.
Napier.
Improvised by is that Mick Napier?
Napier.
Napier.
He taught like Tina Fey, Steve Carell. He's sort of in a staple. He's a staple of the Chicago comedy scene for decades. And he wrote this book, and he wrote another book called Scene from the Inside Out, which is the second one of that, which is he's just all about practical techniques on how to be a good improviser. Hang on one second. I lent the Warner Laughlin Technique is a book that I lent someone and they didn't give it back.
It's written down.
I'm also writing it down.
I don't. Linklater is very weird.
Yeah,
So I want to just say that, but the Freeing the Natural Voice is a good one.
Hey!
Again, I'm a very cynical actor. So watching a bunch of people lying on the ground, shaking and crying, pulls me out of it.
I've got bad news for you. That's the entirety of last year.
Tremors, let's go.
Jesus Christ. Whatever. A room full of actors gaslighting themselves into thinking like, oh, I get it. Like Lord Almighty. Whatever works. Whatever works. And then I have a lot of books. It's like, okay. Whatever works. I like I think those are the only ones I can recommend in good faith.
Okay, yeah, thank you. And I don't know. I'm sure I guess you work a lot on Meisner, so you've read the Meisner book.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have got that in the mail. Is that any good or?
I think a Meisner book is like a book on how to rock climb. It's like just go. You have to go and climb. You've got to like learn you have to learn by doing. It's a muscle. I do think Meisner, I like Meisner because I feel like after I did Meisner for a while, I became a better listener.
Yeah.
I think the techniques are insane, but I do think I became a better listener because of it. So, I'm a cynical. That's the problem about being like an improviser, comedian, and an actor is because you become a cynic, and I should not be. So, but I do like Meisner a lot. Even though I make fun of it, I think it's effective as long as you have a teacher who is safe and who is experienced and safe. Yeah. Because I think it's kind of like Linklater. I think you need somebody who is going to give you a safe place to play. Mm-hmm. Black Box Theater in Chicago is where I learned it, and a lot of the people who started Black Box now one of the people who started Black Box is now the artistic director at Steppenwolf. So it's very rooted in Chicago techniques now because she's running one of the most important theaters in Chicago. So that's if you're looking for a good school, that's the one I liked a lot.
Yeah,
Nice.
sure.
Elijah, did you have something? I saw you unmute.
Not.
Okay.
Oh no, I just wanted to. I had like interjections, and I was like, no one can hear
You can
me.
interject. Oh,
So I figured, I just muted myself because I made myself some yogurt, but I just was laughing along with all the stuff about school and the Linklater and stuff. So I just want to feel a little bit more.
I
part of the
also
conversation.
I liked Linklater too. Like for
Oh, yeah.
example, I went to Lenox, Massachusetts, and I studied at this place called Shakespeare and Company, and they did a lot of Linklater there. And I remember coming back to school over the summer, and people were like, "Oh wow, you changed. What happened?" And I was like, "I don't know. I shook on the ground for a month and a half." But I do feel like I was more grounded. So, but again, it's relaxing. It's relaxing everything. And as you get older, you just build more stress and more tension and trauma. So like finding ways to stay relaxed and stay like in shape is a really like I'm not talking about weightlifting, even though like I like that, but I'm talking about just like finding ways to stay relaxed and exercise, like yoga or dance or whatever works for you. I don't have a particular one thing. Um, I'm probably going to reread this book now.
I think Brady.
Oh, Brady.
He's not.
Yeah, I'm not in camera,
Oh, he's
but
not even in camera.
hello, I am
Hey!
here. I just wanted to say, kind of on that note you were talking about, just finding ways to relax and like between like shows and gigs and stuff like that.
Sure.
I was also wondering, there's like the physical side of it, but also the mental side of it, like doing theater all day and doing that, like finding ways outside of it to like still have fun with it and like in between gigs, like put things out, like such masterpieces as eating a sandwich while reciting Hamlet.
Oh man.
But just things like that, just finding how do you, I guess the question is more so like, how do you go about just like keeping in between acting gigs, keeping yourself,
Busy.
in that kind of, busy and like having fun?
Yeah, that's such a great question. It's something that I've sort of only recently been figuring out how to do well or do. I'm trying to figure out what I like still. But I think, in Chicago, I started a theater company. That's one way to do it, but I don't think that's the be all end all. It's like you could do anything. You could, like, I think taking classes on writing really helps because it forces you to show up every week and write something. And then there's a question on which ones to do. Like if it's stand up, I actually do think a stand up class. If you're ever in LA and you need a stand up class recommendation, I know a really good one.
Amazing.
But there's also screen. It's fine. It's like if you're young, like you all are, I think it's like finding what is inspiring to you and interesting. So it's consuming a lot of stuff. I think the trap is only consuming what's on your phone. I don't want to sound like an old guy, but like going out and seeing live shows and seeing what they're doing in London. Oh yeah. I assume you're on school. Are you on school right now?
Yeah.
If you can swing it, and I know it's sometimes expensive, but if you could swing it, if your school is a study abroad program, I would really highly recommend study abroad. Even if they don't have one on theater, that doesn't matter. Like finding a reason to taking your classes somewhere else, like Italy or London or wherever. I wish I had done more. I went to Lithuania in school, and then I also went to Stratford-on-Avon to study Shakespeare.
Yeah.
And I wish I'd done more. I wish I'd done a whole semester, and I didn't. So you get a lot of inspiration from that, seeing how people outside of America live and study, and that's super important. And the thing is like when you leave school, your time is immediately used up. You're all going to be busy doing whatever, friends, life, work, doing shows, anything. So studying abroad now really helps. God, my hair looks like shit.
No, that's I feel you. That's why I've got the hat on today.
But like yeah, so I guess that's a, you know, journaling is probably I did a one-man show when I was in college, and it was how I started doing it was I journaled every day for
Yeah.
like 10 minutes. And I would just set a timer and write until the timer went out. And the rule is you can't stop writing, even if you don't have an idea. So like if you have to repeat a word, like I'm
Yeah.
writing this word and I can't think of what else to say, and then just whatever. You
Yeah.
make yourself write constantly for that 10 minutes. And that's to shut off the voices in your head that says like, oh, this isn't good, or this isn't what I want to write.
Yeah.
And so that's the practice, is shutting off those voices.
Thank you. Yeah, that's really helpful. And I'm ironically also about to start doing a one-man show right now.
So great. That's
I'm doing
fantastic.
a brilliant thing in like a couple weeks, so that's going to be really fun. So that was very helpful.
Zach.
Yeah.
Soft. Yes. But yeah, that was really. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, no problem.
Awesome. Let's just continue down the list. I guess what's next for you in your career, and do you have any upcoming projects you'd like to share?
I'm writing a movie with the people I did these Soft Boys videos with, which are like, it's a parody of it started off as a parody of these very sensitive, ultra soft boy trend on TikTok where they're following trends. And then
Yes.
and then we did a parody of that. And then we were like, okay, well, we have another camera. What if we do a wide? And what if someone is watching them? And like, what could that entity be? And then so we did a bunch of those. And now we want to write a full movie and try to kickstart it or sell it maybe next year. And then I'm doing another project with Star Kid, which I can't talk about, but will be announced in I guess probably around April 13th or something.
Okay.
So that's another exciting thing.
Isn't Cinderella coming out like the 4th on YouTube?
Yeah, it's a very quick turnaround.
Wow.
But yeah, I hope people are excited about it. I think
I am.
But it's, yeah, so that is something I can't mention legally, but it's gonna be good. I think people are gonna be excited about it. Maybe. I hope so.
Heck yeah. Awesome. And then the last one on my list is, do you have any advice for young actors or directors working on their own productions?
Yeah, I think consume a lot of media and find things that inspire you, and don't stick to what the algorithm feeds you. Try to go back a couple of decades. I think again, this sounds like a conspiracy theorist, but I think it's scary that 5 streaming companies kind of control what you can find online to see. So like go to like, I think London has, what's the name of there's a streaming service that's based in, basically it's like, is it the Old Vic or is it the West End, that has all of their shows online? But you can find plays there, which are really fun. Or again, study abroad to get inspiration there. Find people whose work you think who inspires you and it's really creative. Hang on one second. I'm so sick. Find qualities of performance you like. Like I remember the quality that I was always searching for that I like is like people like Otis Redding and musicians and musical artists who, when they're on stage, it looked like they were living larger than their body could contain them. Like they have this energy that like makes them appear huge. And I, find whatever that thing is that like that gets you excited. Honestly, that should be half of your job as a young artist, is searching for things that excite you and then falling in love with those things. And then everything else can just come naturally from that. but like finding the things that really light you up. And then so yeah, see a lot of shows, travel abroad. Edinburgh is really cool. I've never been. I really want to go to Edinburgh, but I've heard it's like theater camp for adults. It's like everybody's just there and everyone's loving theater and it's coming out of their pores. So that's, yeah, I would just see a ton of shows. Find out what you don't like. Find out, it's like, oh my God, I saw this play and it sucked. And then say, why did it suck? Why was this boring? Or why was this uninspiring? I think that search is really important.
Iceman Cometh is 3 hours long on a good day.
That's nothing. In Chicago, they used to do, this was like a trend for a little while in Chicago, where they would do like 7-hour like shows where they would do they had this one thing where they would do like these Greek, I forgot what it was called, but it was basically these 4 Greek plays that were all connected, and they would have dinner in between.
No,
Yeah,
thank you.
I know. Chicago loves theater and loves to do things that are like, yeah, we're gonna do plays for 8 hours.
The Guthrie just did the Shakespeare marathon where they did Henry, what is it? Richard II, Henry IV, Henry V. I actually got to see that, all of those shows, and they did that similar thing.
Yeah, man, they love that shit. They're like, oh yeah, how long are your plays? 2 hours? we do things a little differently down here. So yeah, find things that really inspire you, and don't let also like listen to your teachers, but ultimately listen to yourself and your gut, and find other teachers, find things that work for you, because it's people think they know kind of what the people think they know what the sort of the end goal is, and they know everything, but they really don't. Adults are just as lost as kids are. Like, be careful about putting people on pedestals. Like, really go out there and find what works for you, and really be extra curious and search everywhere for what works for you. Also be careful of like acting coaches or schools that will be like, well, you're good, but I think a couple of more years of you paying money with me will really unlock something for you. It's like clearly they're selling their school, and I don't want to like. There are some people where in which that's true, but just I think a little bit of skepticism is not a bad thing. And so find out what works, again, specifically for you. And you only get that kind of self-awareness by journaling, doing yoga, listening to your body, listening to what you like, and like being really true to yourself and really true to like what it is you love, and searching for it constantly. So anyway, blah, blah, blah. Sorry about that.
No, that's awesome. We're coming up at the end of our time. Does anyone have any final questions?
I do, actually. I'm Harper, I'm the choreographer. And I was just wondering, how do you integrate choreography into the storytelling in a way that feels organic or really fitting to each performance?
What an amazing question. I wish James or Lauren were on the call to really answer it. But I think they each have their own styles, I think, as choreographers. And I think for the guided light musicals, I think what's fun about the guided light musicals is it doesn't need to feel a part of the world, because it's literally from outside of this world. It's like these aliens could have been inspired by any era of musical theater. They could have been inspired by like The Music Man, or they could have been inspired by, West Side Story and Fosse. They could do they could be drawing their inspiration from anything and it still can feel motivated. I mean, obviously, I think cup of roasted coffee is a little bit like directly to like the Anderson sisters.
Yeah.
So it's like that is kind of one specific thing, but I would say most of everything else can be drawn or pulled from any specific era. Um, but I'm not a choreographer, so I don't know if I can give you a ton of information on that. But I would say what fits the emotion and the style is what really I think works the best. Like for example, Nerdy Prudes, it felt very, like kind of Matilda, kind of like um emotional and raw and like angsty. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of a not a complete answer to your question, but I I'm not I just do what I'm told.
No, that's super helpful. Thank you so much.
I got a question, if we've got
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, extent.
I was just so I guess every actor talks about going through like imposter syndrome, going through the idea of like, okay, you're training, but also like as you're doing things, doubting whether or not you're qualified enough. I was just wondering, have you ever been in a position where like you like have been cast in a role, or that you're undertaking something either in school or something where you're like, oh, I think this is a little bit too, like, if I'm being completely honest, this might be too big for my britches, and how to not get behind the stress of that ordeal and find the joy in it while like struggling with those thoughts.
That's such a great question. I'm glad you asked that. But I would say I feel like an imposter all the time. So I feel like it right now. I felt like an imposter when I did Paul very much. I'm like, if I don't, this is bigger than me. If I fuck this up, like I'm supposed to sell the horror of this. If I fuck this up, what do I, then the show, like I put all of this stress and pressure on it. I think what is super important is acknowledging your feelings before you do a show and before you start a process, and even before, like right before a live performance, like checking in again. I got this from Meisner, but like checking in with yourself about like, how am I feeling today? Like how am I, John Matteson, feeling? How is Paul like, how does this align with what Paul's feeling in this show? Um, Checking in with yourself all the time is super important as an artist. I don't, I have, unfortunately, the imposter syndrome doesn't really go away.
Yeah.
You just kind of learn to be friends with it. Like, this is not a name drop, so I apologize, but I was just lucky. And again, I'm doing it right now. But like, I just got lucky enough to work with Dropout on this show called Smarty Pants. And I spent 2 months working on this show. And I got sick the day before the shoot day. And I was like, I'm not calling in sick. Fuck that. I've worked my ass off on this. I took this gargle away stuff. I like did everything I can. I was like, oh God, please, please, if you're out there, please let me get through this one day. I felt like imposter the entire time. And I went first on the day. Like I was like, I feel like such an imposter. Everybody here is the funniest person in LA, at least, in one of the funniest people in the world. These people are so charming and funny. I have a really funny story about imposter syndrome that I've told people before, but I think it fits. But I'll tell it quickly, which is when I was in college, I was like, again, I thought grad school was the be all end all, and I was trying to get into like Tisch or ACT. I ended up getting called back to Tisch, and I went to the program, the callback. It was like a 3-day callback. The people who were at the callback our like Davine Randolph was at the callback, and she just won an Oscar for The Holdovers.
Yeah.
And like
Great
a bunch of really funny, like really really talented people were there. I felt like such an imposter the entire time, and I was like, okay, what do I do? What do I do? And I tried to like brute force it essentially, and I wasn't really being present. And on the final day of the call of the whole thing, I'm making this shorter, but uh, we had to do our audition again, which my audition was Hamlet and You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. And and I was doing the audition, and I did my audition, and they were like, "Okay, do you have any questions for us?" And I said, "I don't have any questions, but I want to say this. I know I'm ready for grad school, but is grad school ready for me?" And I was like, and I immediately knew what I did, and I left the room, and I was like, "Oh my God, what did I do?" But I think I wanted to do that because one, I thought it was risk taking, and because I felt like I was like, how do I belong here? I need to do something. I need to say something awesome or cool. But it just was, imposter syndrome never really goes away. You kind of have to, at least if you're self-aware, which there are plenty of actors out there who you'll meet who are not very self-aware, and they think good acting is just screaming and not listening to people. But it's, I think if you, I think most actors, even people who've been doing this for like the most famous actors in the world, suffer from that. So I think it's just sort of learning to be friends with it. And all that means is it shows that you care about it. And that will never really go away, hopefully. You kind of just have to check in with yourself before a show.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. That was really helpful.
Good. Good, because I still suffer from that.
Okay, cool. Well, we're all human. Good to know.
Awesome. Any last questions, anyone?
Shortest, fastest as you can possibly explain it. As fast as you can possibly explain it. What's the deal with 30-year-old on a scooter? It's my favorite video.
You and about only about 500 people like that.
It's a great video.
It was a song I was improvising with Jeff one day as we were on scooters in LA. Always wear a helmet.
Okay.
If you're on a scooter.
Yeah.
Always.
Scooters everywhere. So yeah.
A friend of mine, I won't say his name, but he is involved with Star Kid, and he was not wearing a helmet once, and he hit a bump, fell off of it, hit his teeth on the concrete, and like his teeth came out completely, and had to have surgery and replacements. So always wear a helmet.
Thank you.
But it was a song I improvised. You know, it's like just find things that you think are fun and playful, and follow those ideas to completion. Another book, I think some of it is hacky, but I think The Creative Act by Rick Rubin is another really good one. Talks a lot about just finding things that inspire you and completing those things. Because I think one of my biggest criticisms of myself is I'll come up with an idea and I'll sit on it for a really long time because I want it to be perfect. But sometimes perfection is it can be too much. So you have to be very careful about how perfect you want something to be. Like acting can never be perfect. What you can always feel good, even if you don't bring yourself to tears. If you're listening to the other actors, then you should feel like it's a successful performance. But to be able to and again, I keep shitting on Meisner, but I do think I learned this from Meisner, which is being able to listen to yourself simultaneously listening to the other person and letting that feed back and forth.
Yeah.
Is probably what I learned best from that technique. But if you do decide to study it, make sure you find a teacher who is really, really good, because you need to have a safe space to do it well.
Great.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much,
Yeah,
John.
seriously.
It's really means so much, and I like so honored just that you're willing to do this.
Hey, I think I wish I had more people had said some of this stuff to me. So just it gives me a chance to talk about this. So again, highlights, stress is the enemy. Find ways to check in with yourself and be physically present, and physically with like yoga, dance, something that gets you in your body and out of your head. Listen is the most important skill an actor can have. And find things that inspire you, that you love to do. That's your number one job when you're in school, is to, and Jeff, actually, I stole this from Jeff. Jeff said this because my partner is studying interior design right now, and she's worried about like getting everything right. And he's like, your job in school should just be to fall in love with the thing that you're studying and that you like. That's all you should be doing right now. And I think he's right. So that's it.
Wow. Hell yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
so much. I'm really grateful for you taking the time to
Yeah, you
talk
got
to
it.
us. And so much great advice. So really, thank you, John.
Yeah.
Break a leg. You're going to kill it. Have fun.
Thank you.
Have fun and break a leg.
Thank you.
Hell yeah.
All right.
Thank you. I can't wait.
That's all I got. I am going to go end the meeting now. But
Thanks, John.
thank you.
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you, John. So great to meet you.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
All
See ya.
right. Bye.